Hi, it's Isaiah. Um, so yeah, my last video did not come out too long ago, but I threw together this video on the election, just to give my opinion on who I'm voting for and why I'm voting for them. If I look really tired, that's because I am. Uh, so yeah, let's get into it. So this video is not going to be as well researched or as well put together as the other two videos I've made. In preparation for watching this video, I've watched both presidential debates, the vice presidential debate, both recent town halls for President Trump and former Vice President Joe Biden. I watched the leaked 60 Minutes interview with Donald Trump and Mike Pence, hosted by Leslie Stahl. I even watched one of each candidate's rallies. So I'm just gonna say from the get-go that I'm gonna be voting for Biden. I have viewed his policies on various issues, and while I don't 100% agree with him, I can understand where he's coming from, and I believe he's got a good approach to major issues like COVID-19, climate change, and police reform. But the fact of the matter is, it doesn't matter what Biden's policies are because I'm voting against Trump. Now, Trump supporters might try and say that I'm just using the argument orange man bad. Yeah, pretty much actually. When our entire country's election operates on the premise of choosing between the lesser of two evils, of course I'm going to vote against the guy I don't want to be president more than I am voting for the guy that I do want to be president. There is an entire spectrum of political ideologies. There is no way you can cover all of them with 270 somethings from the two main political parties in the country. The COVID-19 response under the Trump administration is enough for me to vote for anyone else. We're nearing 300,000 deaths. The president of the country is potentially the main source of misinformation on COVID-19, and he refuses to take responsibility for the poor response. He chooses instead to blame China. The whole reason why we have had 300,000 deaths is because it came from China. Never mind the fact that almost every other country has much less deaths. He's called it. He's decided, instead of calling it COVID-19, the novel coronavirus, stuff like that, he calls it the China virus, the China plague, Kung Flu. The Kung Flu joke, I guess it's kind of funny, but it doesn't really work when the majority of the people infected with the coronavirus are American. And despite the massive death toll, Trump continues to push for the country to reopen, despite the risk. He says we must learn how to live with it. I think Biden said it best when he said, we're learning to die with it. This virus has taken a massive toll on our country, and our commander-in-chief has the audacity to say, don't let it take over your life. That's really easy to say when you get infected, but you get the best healthcare in the country that the country could possibly offer. His healthcare costs approximately $100,000. I've never had more than $5,000 to my name. This virus is ruining lives. Bob Woodward's tape shows Trump acknowledging that the coronavirus is deadlier than the flu. When he is asked why he downplays the virus, he says it's because he doesn't want to cause a panic. Well, people are panicking. We're in the middle of an eviction crisis. People don't know how to pay their bills right now. And besides that, Trump has been fear-mongering since before he got elected. In fact, it's a part of his campaign and how he got elected. He gained popularity through his anti-immigrant talk about how Mexico is bringing rapists and murderers and drug dealers. These are families that are trying to escape a failing economy and in dangerous country to flee somewhere safer. And I'll get more into that later. He's constantly retweeting conspiracy theories about QAnon, including QAnon. He's stating that the scientists are part of a Chinese, a Democratic corona hoax. He says Biden is a radical, far-left socialist who wants to take away your guns, eliminate the police, eliminate fossil fuel, eliminate the suburbs. Trump says Biden is going to cause the biggest economic recession the country has ever seen. Correct me if I'm wrong, but are we not already in the biggest economic recession we have ever seen? Joe Biden is about as radical as a bowl of oatmeal. He's not going to take away guns. He's planning on giving police more funding, not dissolving the police. He has a plan to reduce emissions and create more jobs through green energy. He's not going to just take away all the jobs. He has a several year-long plan. Let's see. And the new clean energy jobs will make up for the jobs lost. Let's see. One of the biggest things I've noticed about Donald Trump is his campaign strategy. It's pretty similar to when he ran for president the first time. He does not focus on his policies, but rather he focuses on discrediting his competitor. The most notable feature is the name calling. Lion Ted, Crooked Hillary, Crazy Bernie, Sleepy Joe, Osama Bama. Okay, I made that last one up. Donald Trump never said that one. Probably. Donald Trump, I've watched quite a few of his public outgoings, and when he talks on issues, he relies on the same exact points every time. It doesn't matter what the context is or where he's at. Let's see. When I listened to Joe Biden at his town hall, he sounded like he really knew what he was talking about. I forget exactly what terminology Joe used, but he was talking about policing methods in neighborhoods and how it worked before it was dissolved. It was about establishing personal relationships between the officer and the citizen. So Biden managed to teach me something completely new about policing, despite it being a subject that I made a video on literally less than a week ago. On the contrary, I can't tell you anything that I've learned from a Trump rally, or from Trump at all, whether it be a rally, a presidential debate, a town hall, a tweet. It's all the same. He says the same things every time. He makes the same points every time. I want to see a tally of how many times he said that he's done more in one term than Biden has done in 47 years. I mean, Trump might have done more in one term, but just because he's done more does not mean that what he's done is good. And like if it's a racial issue, Trump talks about how much he's done for the community. He talks about how he's done more than any president before him except Abe Lincoln. If it's about coronavirus, it was China's fault. It's the China virus. It would have been much worse under Biden. We're doing the best statistically in the world. If he's asked to condemn a far-right extremist group, he deflects to talking about the far left and Antifa. if it's Obamacare, it's bad. And he's got a better plan that will come out eventually. He's been saying a new plan will come out eventually from the start of his presidential campaign, and he still does not have one. As much as Trump has talked about Obamacare, I don't even know anything about Obamacare. I just know that it's bad and it's going to lead to private insurance dissolving. I don't know exactly how it's going to dissolve, but it will. If he's being asked difficult questions, he says, well, you wouldn't have asked Biden these questions. It's a wonder why he's losing voters who are sitting on the fence. When Biden is asked a question about his policy, he usually gives an answer explaining his policy. Sometimes he over-explains his policy. When Trump is asked about a question, about his policy, he says, it's going to be good, it's going to be the best that ever was, it's going to be better than whatever Obama did. When Biden is asked a difficult question about mistakes he's made in the past, he shows remorse for those mistakes and explains how he will make up for them. When Trump is asked a difficult question about mistakes he's made in the past, he plays the blame game. Trump doesn't want to be held accountable for anything that isn't strictly positive. Trump will get facts checked by reporters and he'll say, well, you're bad news. Or bad news. Fake news is what he says. When you vote for a candidate, you make a judgment call based on three main factors. One, what they've done in the past. In order to get elected, Trump flip-flops between the political parties in order to increase his chances of winning the presidency. The reason why he did this is because there's a pattern. Every time a Democrat wins 2 terms in a row, it naturally switches to Republicans. They get 2 terms in a row, switches back to Democrat. That's why he kept flip-flopping between the two. He had 0 political experience going into office. He gave major tax cuts to the highest earners in the country. He is dismantling Obamacare with no replacement available. He has separated immigrant children from their families. Mass hysterectomies are being given to immigrants without their consent or sometimes even without their knowledge. He has threatened lethal force against protesters. I'm sure we all remember the classic saying, when the looting starts, the shooting starts. Number 2, what they will do in the future. If he is reelected, Trump will continue to push for the country to reopen during a pandemic. Trump plans to steal the election through the Electoral College because he knows he may not win through popular vote, especially with the larger percentage of Americans going out and voting compared to previous elections. If Electoral College doesn't work, he's going to attempt to delay the vote count until the constitutional due date, where he can have what I believe are the state attorneys step in and make the vote. And if that gets taken to court, his administration is attempting to fill the seat of the late Ruth Bader Ginsburg with a Republican woman and settle it in a Republican-leaning court. Trump has already said he will not accept defeat in this election. He's going to claim that there was foul play regardless of the evidence. And number 3, you judge someone on their character. Trump is a failed businessman with a long history of disrespect to women, minorities, people with disabilities, fallen soldiers, and POWs. Trump was born with a silver spoon in his mouth. He lacks empathy and compassion for his fellow man. He views the hundreds of thousands of American deaths due to COVID as an acceptable loss and an overall good job. And above all else, Donald Trump has single-handedly ushered in an era of anti-science. He has given extremists a platform to stand on with his views and ideologies. And frankly, I believe we deserve better. When I have a president, I don't want to worry about what crazy thing he's going to say on Twitter and then take back saying it was a joke later. I don't want to have to fact check every single thing that he says. And I think that's all I got. Yeah, I would appreciate if everyone went out and voted. Yeah, this video was a mess, but I wanted to get it out as soon as I could because this was kind of a last minute decision to make this video, and the election is in less than 14 days. So anyone who hasn't voted yet, I was hoping to maybe give my insight on why I'm voting who I'm voting for. But yeah, thank you for watching.